And I'm grateful to have you here this Thanksgiving weekend and first day of December. I'm still sort of like this, especially because, did anybody else find it odd that on Thanksgiving Day, the stuff at the Macy's parade was all Christmas? And I was like, did Thanksgiving even happen? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'm grateful that you're here. This month, what we're being awake to in this year of being awake to different aspects of life, different aspects of God, we are being awake to light. And my intention is that this month will be awake to light in lots of different ways. Because this is what we call the season of light. And in much of the world, especially the land of the Northwest where I came from, once December hits, it's dark. And all around the world, wherever it is winter, it is dark. And so humans, during that dark season, have reached out to find light, to remember light. Back when most of the world lived agriculturally, to know that the light would come back, that it would come back to nourish the earth again, and just to remember that it wouldn't always be cold and dreary. So it is no accident that almost all the different religions and spiritual traditions have some kind of festival of light, celebration of light during the dark season, which for us in the Northern Hemisphere is now. We have Diwali, which is in India, which is, to be very specific, way old. Way old. And that actually took place this year in November, or maybe even earlier this year, and it is a festival of light. And for 5 days, they celebrate the light, and Lakshmi, who is the goddess of abundance, is featured. She is the face of God that people turn toward during Diwali. I was fortunate enough to be in India. It was 96, you do the math, a long time ago. And we were there in October, and we were there during Diwali, and there were lights, wonderful little lights everywhere at night. It was just lovely. Many of us know Hanukkah, and often I talk about Hanukkah, which actually was last week, and it is also called the Festival of the Lights. It celebrates a miracle when a lamp that did not have enough oil to do so actually burned for 8 nights. It was impossible. It was a miracle to celebrate the light. And we know, of course, for those of us who were raised in the Christian tradition, that Christmas celebrates the light, the Christ light, the light of Christ. And we also celebrate it by part of the story of Christmas being that star that the wise men followed to find this Messiah who was being born. They thought, many who were trying to get Jesus up front and center to the Jewish population, looked at the prophecies of Isaiah, probably the greatest of the Jewish prophets, and he said, the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. So around this time of year, we have lots of celebrations that use that metaphor of light. So we're just jumping on that bandwagon. Why is light so powerful? Why do we talk about it so much? Well, of course, as I said, we have the physical back from our most ancient days, when the sun was seen as the giver of life, as that which nurtured the seeds which grew into food, that which warmed the homes, and the fire that was learned, that once folks learned how to make that fire, that warmth, that light, made kind of a safety against the night. It brought warmth into the homes and made people safe from the animals. So light has this sense, I think, in our structural DNA for safety in life itself. And then, as we became more talky, we knew light as metaphor. Light is metaphor for the truth. Light is metaphor for wisdom. Light, if Vicky's any example of it, as joy. And all of those being light somehow as understanding. I have seen the light. I understand what is real, what is enduring, what is true. And light casts out the darkness. And darkness often really is about ignorance and fear, sometimes death. But that light that is understanding, that is truth, dispels that fear and ignorance and brings us to a new place, a new strength, a new power, a new joy. Now, some of you may have noticed, I never really know who does, the talk title. I always forget it's right back there. And I just kept thinking about that great smoking ritual that is now absent from movies and absent, but it used to be just this way that people shared. Got a light? Oh, yes. Person would bring out their fancy lighter or get a match. And then if you're outside, needed to shelter it from the wind and share a light. Those of us who long time ago may have indulged in a different kind of smoking would also share a light and have a ritual about it. And that sort of disappeared from our language or our ritual, that idea, got a light? That light is something to be shared. Because none of us needs to smoke, but we do still need light. So let's look at this metaphysically. What we know as metaphysicians, that light that humans have had this tendency to reach out for, to reach to teachings or to gurus for, that light is actually, as Jack alluded to in our prayer, is within us. We are the light. That light, whether you call it the Christ light, the Buddha light, we'll talk about Buddha next week, that light, that Christ nature, that Buddha nature is within us. That the truth, that the understanding, that the wisdom is already in us, and it is ours to share. One of my favorite stories that many of you have heard me share from the Christian scriptures is Jesus trying to tell the folks in one of his sermons, your light is meant to be shared. You don't put the light in a household under a bushel basket. And usually households in Jesus' day might only have one light. There might be several families living in one household. And if some of the women who are maybe trying to say, no, it's my kitchen, we'll do it my way, and maybe another person said, well, no, we're going to do it my way, if they bickered, maybe somebody would have the practice of covering the light. Well, what happens? Then everybody's in darkness. And so Jesus was making the point not just to share the light in the house, but share the light of good, share the light of his teaching, share the wisdom that you have with everyone at a time when actually the Jews were trying to separate themselves and keep quiet about who they were and their understanding. So we've had this teaching for 2,000 years that light, whether it is a lamp light or the light in us is something to be shared with others. That's the purpose of our life, is to share it and to have life keep revealing to us truly the light that we are. Vicki shared with us this morning already her understanding of her light. And one of the things she shared, that she is legally blind, and her new sort of theme or book or work, and what a lot of her coaching, because as I said, she is a life coach, a lot of her coaching goes to is something she calls find the funny faster. Find the funny faster. And you can see by that last Gwyneth Paltrow song, it's about how can I take myself lightly, and in that taking myself lightly, realize the joy of life. How can I find the light faster? By finding the funny faster. That is Vicki's light to share. And how sad it would be if she made up this song and never shared it with anybody, or the Come to the Cliff, any of the songs she has, any of the wisdom she has. How sad that would be if she didn't think she should share. She just thought, well, either I'm just going to keep it for myself, or maybe it's not good enough to share. Then we all suffer because we don't get the delight of hearing it. So this idea of the light that we are, and understanding what that unique light each of us is, can sometimes sound like, oh, it's a heavy burden. I've got to find this light, and it's got to be holy, and it means when I'm shining it, people fall down in awe, or it's just, I've got to find and get this light. Oh, it can't be that because that's too easy, or it can't be that because that's not sacred enough. This light that each of us is unique, and we are already designed, each of us designed, because there's this really, really deep intelligence that created each of us, if you really want to know. So we were each made with intelligent design. And so each of us has a light, and we get to make up what it is. In any moment, we get to make up what it is. And the cool thing is, the older I get, and at the end of this month, I'll almost be 60. So I'm almost getting to a wisdom place, I think. I'm almost getting to a wisdom place. Is that the light that each of us is, in any moment, can be just what a situation requires, just what a situation is looking for. You never know, we never know how just our own perspective can make a huge difference in somebody's life. Or our giving a hug, or just giving our attention, or sharing an idea might make a huge difference, or even a little difference. That trim tab, who's that famous inventor and designer that went through so many issues? Geodesic dome guy. Thank you, geodesic dome guy. He had this thing he called the trim tab, and you know the trim tab is on a boat. You know, a boat, the rudder has to go boop. It's a big deal to change a boat's direction or a ship's direction. And the trim tab, I think he invented it, was like a sub-rudder to the rudder, and just turning that trim tab allows the ship to make a significant turn slowly with less effort. And we never know when our idea, our thought, our perspective, our attention might be the trim tab for a situation. And that's how I'd like us to think about this concept of light and our light this holiday season. If we're a divine idea in the mind of God, which is one of the ways that we in Science of Mind talk about ourselves, talk about all humankind as a divine idea in the mind of God, then wouldn't it stand to reason that divine ideas in the mind of God would have divine ideas? And so I have had this thought of making this invitation for this holiday season. And since it's December 1st, we've got a ways to prepare to start being with yourself and contemplating, what is my light to share this holiday season? What is some wisdom I could bring to a situation? What is an idea I could bring to a situation? Maybe a situation just needs my attention. Maybe somebody just needs my listening ear. Maybe one of those, they're my unsung heroes, the checkout clerks at the grocery store, or, now at Macy's, if they've been working for 4 days straight. Maybe a shop person needs my seeing of them as a human being who is doing the best they can and acknowledging them, whether it's by a look, by a word, by a smile, by a word of encouragement. Maybe that's a way you can be a light. Maybe you have a joke to lift somebody's day. Maybe you have a smile. Maybe you actually can lend a hand for somebody. Maybe your light this season is a bunch of stuff that you realize you don't need anymore. And you can purge your closet and or your house and give that away so that somebody can find it at Goodwill or some other thrift shop and say, this is so perfect for my friend. This is so perfect for my mother. There are so many ways to be a light if we choose to do it. So I have this sort of crazy idea that I want to invite, as I said, you guys to contemplate the next couple weeks, not letting the whole month go by, but start contemplating the light that you are, what you are naturally called to do and to be, and how that could end up being one of the aspects of God. So for like Vicki, if we think about that humor she has, that is joy. If it is your good ideas, then it's wisdom. If it's your listening, your attention, that could be love. You get to see what it is. But to start contemplating and then inhabiting that. And then at our candle lighting service, which we'll be doing Christmas Eve, as has been our tradition, so that will mean Monday night, the 23rd, that we will have an opportunity to claim that light. That you will have that opportunity to claim, this is the light I am being. And know it and give it. So let's take a moment right now, since we're in this wonderful space that has been blessed and you've already had that wonderful time of opening in the silence. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just begin the process right now. And maybe some of you already know, maybe some of you will come up with it. But just in this moment, as you breathe into your heart space, it isn't something you have to study. It isn't something you have to figure out. It isn't something you have to become better to do. It is who you already are and what you naturally do. You just haven't given yourself and that aspect of you the respect it deserves. You haven't called it good, you haven't called it holy. So what is that unique light that is yours to share? Is in your particular take on a situation, your perspective that might just be what is needed. Is it your sense of beauty to draw others' attention to the beauty that is around us, or to make something more beautiful for the holidays? Is it the light of understanding to really listen to someone and help them to their own understanding? Is it the light of joy and merriment? And just bringing light to situation with giggles and laughter? Is it your music? Is it your willingness to lend a hand? So let this process cook in you. Some of you may already have the idea now. You may already have your light identified. And so I invite you, the next couple weeks, we can practice here, is when you see each other, whether at the center or elsewhere, to say, got a light? Say, yeah, it's this joke I just heard. Got a light? Yeah, here's something I just read that reminded me of the truth of who we are. Got a light? Yeah, you know, I love you. So when we ask the question of each other, got a light, it's because I know that you do, that we all have a light. And so together we know, as I know, that God in which we live and move and have our being, that infinite presence, that divine, is light itself, is a revealing of life, of splendor, of truth, of joy, of love. It is the revealer. That light is the revealer of the splendor available in each human being. There is not one person on this planet that was not created with the light in them. And so I definitely know for each and every person here that that light of God, whether you call it the light of God, the Christ light, the Buddha nature, enlightenment, the divine within, is right where each of us is. And so I speak my word that each of us wakes up just a little more to the light that we are and a light that we can bring to all the situations we face this month. That we bring our light with us wherever we go. So we become light bearers and light sharers. And our presence becomes a beacon. It becomes a lifter-upper. It becomes an illumination. Not to set ourselves apart, but an illumination so that each person we meet can see their own light reflected in it. And so I know as we claim this, as we open to it, we do become it. And the world is bright. It is bright and beautiful with who we are, deeply, fully, completely. I am so grateful. And I release this word knowing it is truth that I have spoken, and it is moving upon a law that is saying yes and bringing its demonstration into each life in this room. Again, I give thanks. Let it be. Say, and so it is.